The ground shook beneath their boots. A sudden roar tore through the sky. Shouts clashed with the deafening rumble. Smoke blinded eyes. Soldiers froze, unsure where to run, where to fire, or if running was even possible. The air smelled of dust and fear. Metal screamed. Orders were shouted, but no one knew who was listening. Footsteps echoed, then vanished. A radio crackled once, then went silent. Something was wrong. The horizon, once clear, now offered no escape. Every direction seemed trapped. The earth itself felt like it was closing in. Men clutched rifles with shaking hands. Hearts pounded like war drums. Eyes scanned the haze for enemies, for paths, for any sign of hope. Nothing moved. Nothing responded. The wind carried unfamiliar sounds, low, haunting, almost alive. Some whispered prayers, others stared into the smoke, frozen, waiting. A distant shout, maybe a warning, maybe a cry, was swallowed instantly. Time slowed, then accelerated, then stopped entirely. What had trapped them here? Was this a trap, a miscalculation, or something no one could have prepared for? A single question echoed in every mind. Could anyone survive this? The morning arrived, but it brought no relief. Smoke hung heavy in the air, lingering like a bad dream. Footsteps crunched on broken ground. Weapons lay abandoned. Rifles, helmets, packs, all scattered as if the men had vanished into thin air. A single radio antenna swayed in silence. Calls went unanswered. Messages repeated in empty echoes. Squad leaders scanned the terrain, faces pale, hands trembling. Some names were whispered, soldiers missing, units gone without trace. The horizon offered no answers. Every position that should have been manned was empty. Every sentry post silent. Only the wind moved, brushing against broken walls and cratered earth. Questions piled up. Where had the men gone? Why had no one reported back? Why did the enemy seem nowhere and everywhere at once? Officers gathered in tight circles, murmuring in disbelief. Reports conflicted. Maps showed paths that no one could have taken. Some lists of soldiers were incomplete. Some radios had gone dead mysteriously, with no explanation. A sense of wrongness settled over the survivors. Grief mixed with unease. Something had shifted, not just the battlefield but the world they knew. A haunting thought lingered, perhaps the ground itself had betrayed them. And yet no one spoke it aloud. The silence was too loud. The missing, the unanswered calls, the empty positions, each seemed like a puzzle with pieces deliberately hidden. The year was 1944. Europe was a chessboard of shifting front lines, desperate maneuvers, and calculated risks. Armies moved with precision and exhaustion in equal measure. Commanders planned invasions on paper, but reality was always messier. This region, dense with forests and winding rivers, had been strategically ignored for years. Maps were outdated. Intel was scarce. Yet its importance had grown overnight. Supply lines crisscrossed it. Every bridge, every hill, every road could decide the fate of thousands. Military units stationed here were alert, but tension ran high. Orders were strict. Discipline was enforced with rigid consequence. Yet despite the drills, the men could sense something unusual. Movements of enemy forces were inconsistent. Reports arrived late or not at all. Weather added another layer of uncertainty. Fog rolled in without warning. Snow fell, then melted, leaving mud that slowed every step. Commanders debated endlessly. Every decision was a gamble. Every retreat was weighed against supply, morale, and potential annihilation. Maps were pored over, radios monitored, scouts sent. Still, the unease lingered, an invisible tension stretching across the land. The men, well-trained yet human, understood that in war, a misstep could be fatal. Every soldier knew the rules, the strategy, and the consequences, but no one could prepare for a trap that had no escape. Dawn found Sergeant Heinrich Müller checking his men. He was tall, disciplined, a veteran of multiple skirmishes. Every movement precise, every order crisp. His unit, the 3rd Infantry, had trained for years. Drills in mud, in rain, in night exercises that tested both mind and body. They had memorized commands, routes, and contingencies. Yet the fear in their eyes was unmistakable. Private Carl Weber adjusted his helmet nervously. He had joined the army for duty and honor, but reality was harsher than imagined. Each morning, he recited silent prayers for safety. Each evening, he counted blessings quietly, wondering if the next day would bring them. The unit's routine was meticulous. Morning inspections, weapon maintenance, tactical drills. Evening briefings. Sleep in shifts. Food rationed precisely. Every deviation from protocol was punished, every lapse noted. Despite discipline, bonds grew. Shared jokes over thin meals. Quiet conversations about home. Letters read aloud in the fading light. Every man carried hope and fear in equal measure. Müller's eyes scanned the horizon. He felt unease creeping in, subtle yet persistent. Orders had become strange, fragmented. Reports from scouts arrived late, often incomplete. The men noticed, but they trusted their leader. And yet, a silent question haunted them all. Would their training be enough when nothing went as planned? The morning was unusually quiet. No birds, no distant artillery, just a low, constant hum of tension. Messages arrived with errors, coordinates mismatched, supply requests ignored, reports missing entirely. The radio crackled with static. Some calls were interrupted by bursts of foreign signals, indecipherable and unsettling. Enemy movements became erratic. Scouts reported patrols in places they should not be. Positions that were meant to be secure appeared empty when checked. Müller noticed patterns that didn't add up. The lines of defense were shifting unpredictably. Orders came down that made little sense. Troops were instructed to move toward hazards. Supply drops arrived late, sometimes in the wrong location. A subtle sense of isolation grew among the men. Private Weber noted it in his journal. Something is off. I feel it in the air, like we're walking into a trap, but I can't see it yet. Others whispered similar doubts. Tension was rising. Sweat mingled with mud on brows. Hands tightened around rifles. Every odd occurrence increased the weight on the men's minds. They had trained for ambushes, for artillery, for all manner of danger, but not for confusion that made every step uncertain, every choice a potential dead end. And as the day grew, so did the sense that something unprecedented was about to occur. The morning fog thickened. Shadows moved in shapes that made no sense. A whistle sounded, high and shrill, cutting through the haze. Müller shouted orders, but voices were swallowed instantly. The ground trembled, not with artillery but something slower, deliberate, creeping. Soldiers stumbled. Rifles clanged against boots and rocks. Eyes darted, scanning smoke and twisted silhouettes. The horizon shifted, as if reality itself had become unstable. A sudden crack echoed, sharp and metallic. Men fell, not to enemy fire, but to the confusion of their own fear. Private Weber's hands shook violently. He tried to run. The path vanished beneath mud and broken earth. Each step seemed to take him farther from his unit, yet closer to something unseen. He called for Müller, but no answer came. Only the wind whispered back, distorted and alien. The sky darkened unnaturally, clouds swirling in impossible patterns. Men shouted, but echoes returned distorted, mocking. Some tripped over debris, others froze mid-step. Every direction was blocked. Every escape route was gone. A radio emitted a single, distorted scream of static. Messages from command were fragmented, nonsensical. Positions that should have been secure were empty. Footsteps too many, too fast, yet invisible, crossed around them. Mueller grabbed the closest soldier. "Form up," he screamed. But the formation dissolved like smoke. Soldiers disappeared into the mist. Some vanished mid-step. Some reappeared only to vanish again. Time lost meaning. Moments stretched and snapped back like a broken clock. Men screamed, but their voices no longer reached one another. Movement became chaotic, almost surreal. And then silence. The wind stilled. Footsteps stopped. The fog hung heavy and unmoving. Where soldiers had been, only empty earth remained. Nothing indicated struggle, battle, or retreat. Just disappearance. The last thing Mueller remembered was a shadow passing over him. Then darkness. The incident ended as mysteriously as it had begun. No reports, no witnesses, only the lingering question what had taken them. The command structure scrambled. Officers pored over maps and incomplete reports. Search parties moved into the dense fog and broken terrain. Every patrol returned with fragments of information, footprints ending abruptly, abandoned packs, radios dead or missing. Questions multiplied. How many were lost? How could units vanish without trace? Some claimed to hear distant cries. Others swore they saw shadows moving unnaturally. Records were inconsistent. Names were missing. Logs were incomplete, some intentionally altered. High-ranking officers insisted everything was under control, but whispers of secrecy and suppression spread quickly. Survivors, those few who stumbled back, gave conflicting testimonies. Some remembered panic, others a strange silence. No one could fully describe what had happened. Eyewitness accounts contradicted maps, radio logs, and physical evidence. Investigators questioned every available soldier. Many refused to speak or muttered nonsense. Some were disciplined for insubordination. Others were transferred quietly, their accounts lost in paperwork. The military tried to explain it logically: disorientation, miscommunication, terrain, or enemy deception. But nothing accounted for the complete disappearance of entire units. Some evidence was labeled classified, removed from public records. Even decades later, files remained sealed, leaving historians and investigators puzzled. And yet every fragment, every whispered report carried the same undertone: something extraordinary had occurred. Something that no one, not even command, fully understood. The investigation, thorough and exhaustive, only deepened the mystery. The battlefield returned to silence. Grass grew over abandoned rifles. Mud dried over footprints that led nowhere. The horizon held its secrets tightly, refusing to release answers. Mueller, Weber, and the countless men vanished in a single, inexplicable moment. Families never received closure. Units were dissolved quietly. Official histories mention only confusion, miscommunication, and tragedy. Yet those who study the event feel the weight of absence. Every missing soldier, every incomplete report is a reminder of the unknown. A reminder that not all battles are fought on maps. Some are fought in shadows, in confusion, in moments that defy explanation. The world moved on, but the silence remains. Historians debate, theorists speculate, and descendants wonder. What happened that day? Was it an enemy tactic, a freak of nature, or something beyond understanding? The answer may never come. And so the battlefield stands empty, echoing the question that haunts every mind. Could anyone truly survive a battle where retreat was impossible in every direction.